Happy Wednesday. We're in the kitchen. It's Chau, Sarah, Argavon. We're baking up a storm. We're just going to let it roll and see where it takes us.
Yes.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah, so we decided to do a mochi brownie. Take the classic brownie and turn it into mochi. And the reason being is because I love mochi. We all know that. If you don't, then now you do. And mochi kind of gives it a couple different elevation, right? Like one, I think it moistens the brownies a bit more. And then obviously it makes it gluten-free. So, you know, everyone's on that gluten-free kick. So
yes, they are.
Maybe be a little guilt-free.
We can talk all about that, yes, but we won't, because that's going to take the fun out of the baking.
Totally. So let's get started. What are the ingredients that we need?
So we'll start off with 1 cup of mochiko flour.
Yes, and if you don't know what that is, it looks like this in this little box. You can get it at Nugget, Sprout, wherever, Asian market.
Yeah, I just got it there this morning. And mochiko flour is great because it adds different texture to your baked products. And so this is a great way to introduce different textures to your kids who might be just used to just the regular flour cakes and brownies. So we're going to mix all the dry ingredients together. This is 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, not baking soda. Don't make that mistake.
And then we have 1/2 cup of cacao powder, unsweetened.
And these are actual ingredients. We're not pretending.
This is not a pretend cooking show. And then we have 1 cup of sugar. Now you can replace it with like coconut sugar or any other sugar if you want to keep it
tasteless, but we're going to just use regular sugar.
We're going to use real sugar.
Yeah.
And the full amount, although you can reduce it if you like. We're going to whisk the ingredients together and make sure they're combined thoroughly.
Now, unlike regular flour, you don't need to like sift through it just because the mochi flour is pretty refined as it is. So it makes it really easy. So it's just like almost like 2 steps. So you got one, it's your dry, and now we're going to switch the bowls over and we're going to do our wet ingredients.
And I have to say this is a little more clean than baking with my kids because when I say please do it slowly, they tend to go a little bit faster and the flour goes flying. So this is wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, you can do it with your kid. I've done it. But yeah, it does get messy.
Yes.
I got to melt this.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So we got, I think it's about...
It's 5 tablespoons of butter.
That you have to melt. While she does that, I will show you the 2 eggs that we need to add. So first we'll add 1. And then we'll add the second egg. Now, Sarah and I took a cooking class online
I did not know that.
a couple years ago.
Fact number 1.
Through Christina Tosi. She makes that, what's that one?
Melt bar
company. Anyways, one of the things I learned that if you really melt the sugar or the butter or the eggs and whipped it really well for a long while, it just kind of melts the taste and it just elevates it a bit. There's a difference, but for this purpose, we want to keep it easy and straightforward so that you don't feel intimidated by making this delicate, decadent dessert. So while she gets the butter melted, I'm going to just whip the eggs a little bit to get that in. And then we have about 12 ounces of whole milk. Grass-fed. I've tried it with almond milk and it still tastes good. Like nobody really knows the difference. So if you start it a certain way, your family's not going to notice. But if you start it one way where you do all whole milk, all full sugar, and then you switch it up on them, good God.
Yeah.
They will tell you there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. And so 5 tablespoons of melted butter.
Good stuff.
Can you mix that in? So once that's done, you add it together. I'll put that down.
A big inspiration behind how we got together is Sarah and Chau are always posting these beautiful, amazing recipes on their social media. And I thought, well, why not bring you guys into the kitchen so I can stand here and watch you do it in person. So here we are. I'm curious though, ladies, what is your favorite recipe to make of all time?
I mean, I think mine is the fruit galette because it's very easy. You just make a pie or pastry dough, flatten it out, put your fruit fillings in there, and fold in the edges. And there you have a quick pie or tart for dessert. And it's really easy for the kids to do as well.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite dessert to make, it's complicated.
Or any dish.
Any
It doesn't
dish?
have to be dessert.
The Instant Pot recipes are pretty good. They're a lifesaver at times.
That's true. So my favorite one for the Instant Pot is the oxtail pho.
Oh, yeah.
And that one is always a hit. And no matter what, it always turns out.
Maybe we should make this a series.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of the next idea?
All right.
How did you guys even get into cooking and baking? Because you didn't just wake up one day and thought, I'm going to start whipping up all these cool recipes.
Yeah, I think Chau and I are fortunate to have people in our family who cooked. And I think a lot of our cooking memories are from childhood and a lot of good memories around the kitchen table. And of course, at that time, we didn't record recipes, but it's just the nostalgia of eating certain foods and then wanting to share that with our kids. And so I think I started cooking probably not formally until maybe after college, but definitely toying around with different things when I was little.
I love it. What's the weirdest thing you both have ever made?
So I wouldn't say mine was weird, but I would say it's the most unique. One of my friends learned that I was baking a lot during COVID. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, everyone thinks now you are a baker.
You're not?
I'm not. No, I just like to play with food and eat it. She asked me to make a mochi beignet, and I had never, ever attempted to make a new recipe in my entire life. But I would have to say that after taking Christina Tosi's class, it gave me the confidence to do so, because in her class, it actually teaches you how to try different ingredients and test it out and be creative and be brave, right? So I said, sure, why not? I had nothing else to do for the next few weeks. And I say that it took me, about 10 different versions of it, because it's a completely new recipe. It's a merger of beignets, there's a merger of mochi, combining it and then really understanding the elements, because baking is very precise, and that's why I like it. And I find it soothing to stay and stick to it and not have to really think. And then obviously understanding the chemistry of it. And for some odd reason, that soothes me when I bake, because then I'll know exactly whether or not it's going to turn out. Whereas cooking in general, there's a bit of, flexibility and this and that. And I just don't get it. And then when it doesn't come out good, I'm like, what did I do wrong? I added too much pepper. I added too much of this. And it confuses me a bit. So after a while, I finally made it, and it came out exactly how I envisioned. And Sarah was always my taste tester.
Love it. Baking's your jam.
It's my jam. It's my therapy. It's my moment where nobody comes in the kitchen because they know that if they mess up the chemistry of this, then they're not going to have the rewards. Right?
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
That's right.
Totally. So we mixed it well enough. And what comes after is the best part, the chocolate. Now, the recipe says about 3 tablespoons, but do we count the number of chocolate?
We're going to be generous here.
No. So you can do 2 ways. You can either add it in and mix it so that it kind of melts inside and then sprinkle on top, which is what I like to do, because I feel like the more chocolate, the better. Why not, right? And then I also like to sprinkle on top so you kind of have that melted look. So I'm just trying to get inside, huh?
Yeah.
So we'll pour it in here. Use some non-dye parchment.
Right. It's all about green up here.
And parchment paper is great because you can then lift up the final product.
Oh, genius tip.
Right. Okay. So let's add some more chocolate on top. Yeah.
So as you were talking about COVID and baking, I have my own. It's not even so much of a blender, but we were all stay at home, and it was very discouraged to be outside of your home. And I decided I'm going to be a great mom and bake donuts with my kids. And I've never made it before. And if my kids were watching this video, they're going to be laughing hysterically because they told everybody this story. and I had only substitutions for the real ingredients. And so, as you mentioned, precise, I did the complete opposite. I winged it. I made substitutions. I didn't have enough of things. So the donut went into the oven, and we were all very excited to eat the donut. It smelled amazing, and it sort of looked somewhat like a donut. But when we ate it, it was probably the worst thing that we've ever eaten. And this story is from 4 years ago, but my kids have told probably the entire community of how their dietitian mom is the worst at making donuts. And even if I attempt to make it again, they said absolutely not. So anyway, there's my little confession. Kitchen blunders or anything mishaps in the kitchen for you guys. You probably don't have that many stories.
So Sarah said that she started dabbling with cooking after college. So I literally didn't dabble with cooking until I moved to LA. And my now husband, at the time was just my boyfriend, moved in with me in the studio in LA. And at the time we were like, I was a starving artist. He was, you know, in transition with a job before going back to school for his PhD. I had to cook because we couldn't afford to just go out all the time. And I thought that because I grew up with an amazing chef at home, my mom, and I watched her cook so many times that I could just wing it, right?
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood. Like, I seen her cut up steak. I seen her. No, we don't. Just a little soy sauce, a little hoisin, a little this, a little that. And well, it was terrible. Okay. It was so terrible that I didn't even notice when he would say an hour later, hey, let's go grab some pizza. Let's grab some, you know, burgers. I'm still hungry. And I was just thinking, he's a guy. He just needs to eat more. No, that's because my cooking was so terrible. Romantic. He never told me until we moved back to Seattle for him to go to school. And at the time, I worked to support him. And my job was seamless enough where I had set up everything that by the end of the day, I would have time to look up recipe because, you know, now I got nothing else to do. I would go buy the ingredients, and I followed the instructions to the T this time. Didn't know why I didn't think of that in LA. And we had dinner one night, and he was praising it so hard and saying how it was so amazing and so good that I stopped and said, wait, you've never said that the entire year we were in LA? And he goes, well, honey, it's because it was terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm still married to that man.
Yeah. He's a keeper.
Yeah. He saw the potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't marry you for your cooking.
That now, this relationship will like abruptly end right now. So I just keep my cool. I stay quiet.
Just to see if there's an evolution of change, right?
You see, if you stay quiet.
Choose your battles. That's right.
Choose your battles. That's right. There's a good life lesson. So shout out to Joe for that story.
Yes. And now he gets the benefit of my
beautiful
baking.
That's right.
Yes, well tested, well measured.
So even when you ate your own food, you didn't think it was bad?
She was just feeling herself.
Because sometimes I know when I make, well, most of the time I know when I make a bad dish.
I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah, but when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, whatever, it's fine.
I mean,
I'm still cool. Yeah, I'm still.
But sometimes you need a second opinion, and if no one's saying anything, then you're like, okay, maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
No, it was everybody. Yeah. Even his brother came to visit once, and I made noodles, and it dried up because I forget that if you let the soup sit too long, it soaks up all the juice.
Right.
And then I was like, that makes sense because my mom used to be like, curry, dinner's right there, you know. And I was like, why? It's just soup, it'll be there. And now I know why. And apparently they ate it all and then went out to get Thai food after. And I just thought they were just boys.
That was their first exposure to Asian food. And,
and then I ruined it. That's why
you guys went over pizza afterwards, right?
Maybe he gave him a pep talk before he came over and said, just so you know, it's first time is not the charm. Like, just stick with it and you'll get it.
Yeah.
Life lesson, right?
Yeah,
just keep at it.
Yeah. That's family.
Yeah, so I don't cook for people. No,
that's why we never come over.
That's right.
You just post all the videos. It's like, well, like I told you, I'm like, are you gonna adopt me?
It looks good.
She's like, yeah, sure, but I'm waiting for it to happen.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. What about your story?
Well, I mean,
because you're always in the kitchen.
I'm always in the kitchen. I just learned the hard way. You're supposed to like cover the butter when you microwave it in the oven, or else there's an explosion.
Oh my God!
Right? You've done
still
that.
happens.
Yeah.
When you forget and you're in a hurry.
The occasional like tin foil gets into the microwave.
Yeah, the worst is if it in the oven and something explodes.
That's
and
right.
You're like, oh man,
yeah,
that's going to be an interesting cleanup.
Yeah. That's happened where I am in a hurry. It's always when you're in a hurry,
Yes,
right?
right,
Where the batter is overflowing and then gets to the bottom and it kind of burns.
Oh.
And I think I did that a month or two ago, and Cash is like, Mommy almost burned the house down.
Yeah.
You know, that's how he tells people. I'm like, I didn't burn that because, well, the fire alarm went off, Mom.
Yeah.
Yes, because there was smoke. It didn't burn. Like if there was, I was like, if there was fire, a fire truck would have been there. So stop telling people I almost burned the house down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I make sure your carbon monoxide alarms are
that's
working
right.
and in place.
Well,
that's right.
It was well tested, so it works.
That's right.
We're good.
That's good.
We're good. So now we bake it for about 50 to 60 minutes. I always recommend 50 and then check it, because mochi, if you overcook, it does harden a bit, and you kind of want it slightly undercooked. So then by the time it cools down, it's just perfect.
And moist.
And
Yeah.
moist.
Yeah, that's the key word of our video,
Mm-hmm.
is moist. If you guys can have any celebrity chef over, who would it be?
Well, I would never invite her over to my house, but I would go to hers. So Ina Garden, Barefoot Contessa.
Can I come over if and when she comes over?
Yeah, I mean, if she invites me over, you are first on the list.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
As my guest. Second on the list.
I'll bring my camera too, because if it's not recorded, it didn't happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No, she's a cook for the home cook.
Yes.
This is her second career, so I respect that.
Yeah,
She her ingredients are simple, the stuff that you have most of the time in your pantry. And she likes to cook for herself, her husband Jeffrey, and good friends. And I feel like that is sort of the day-to-day cooking I would love to do. And her stuff looks so good. Yeah. She has a great sense of like style and plating food, and everything is flavorful.
Yeah,
that I've tried.
She was actually the first person's cookbook that I purchased, and I got really excited. And now behind all of that,
collecting
there's
dust.
a collection. Yes. So her and I go way back in that regard.
Right.
What about you?
I would say Candace Nelson. I have her Sprinkles cookbook, and I wasn't a huge cupcake fan back then, because I don't like a lot of frosting, right? I feel like it's just so sugary, and I just like to get to the meat
of away from the foundation.
Exactly, just enough. And maybe because I was pregnant at the time when I discovered her, because we were in Arizona for the Super Bowl fun pre-thing. I didn't go to Super Bowl. I was pregnant, and then we went to Sprinkles because we didn't have one in Seattle at the time where I lived. And I was
just a franchise.
It's not.
Oh, it's a
because I was so in love with it, and I really liked the frosting, and I thought it was just well done, and it was just so cute, and it wasn't the typical swirly thingy. I actually went home and looked up whether or not they were a franchise, because I just gotten laid off and I was pregnant.
Yeah,
and
you're
so,
like, I'm getting myself a cupcake.
Yeah, maybe I'll get into a cupcake business, but it wasn't a franchise. It's actually privately owned by Candace Nelson and her husband. And they've started a pizza company as well. And she's a great entrepreneur, and she does many different things. And especially now, she continues to empower women in business and things. So I admire her as a businesswoman. And I started reading her book, and our path is sort of similar. Like, she was in finance and then had this love for baking and decided to take a baking class over in San Francisco. That's where she was at the time. And then just kind of snowballed from there, not being in the industry at all. And just felt connected to that, knowing that I, have a love for handbags, and just started to learn handbags. So she's in the Bay
Area then?
She was. Oh. Then they relocated to LA, and that's where they opened their first shop.
So not too
and they had to fight to get the commercial spot, because no one thought just selling cupcakes was going to be successful.
Next to our green juicery.
Yeah.
That's in LA.
And selling it for $3.50.
Best of both worlds, right?
Get your green juice and get your cupcake.
That's right.
If you could come up with a stage name for yourself, so you're this famous chef, you're on TV, you're on YouTube with 1 billion subscribers. That's my son's goal. What would be your name? So I love the apron. You can even if you're feeling inspired.
Well, I think so. My maiden name is Lee, and so Sarah Lee has been with me for a very long time. And I don't know, there's a whole generation of kids who don't know Sarah Lee, but growing up,
We do.
pound
Yes.
cake, cheesecake.
Yes.
I mean, it was the to-go sort
Yes.
of grocery store purchase for dessert. And so I would, I don't know, just do something with Sarah Lee.
That's very
Drop
cool.
the chow.
Yeah. Yeah. The OG or something.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was primarily cooking, you know, I would go with chow. You know, like hello,
Oh, I love
goodbye,
that.
you know, chow down, which is kind of ironic because I hated that nickname as a kid. But
Yeah.
now I kind of play into it because, you know, why not?
Yeah.
So if you can't fight it, join it.
Totally.
And we'll
No,
see what
I
happens.
love that. I was thinking something a little street, but I love both options. Yeah, I need to give mine a little thought.
Little street.
I don't know, just like a badass, you know,
Like,
I don't know. We're gonna do some crazy things in the kitchen. Blowtorch. No, is that just?
I thought chow down was already
Yeah.
a little
It depends.
racy.
It depends on what playlist is playing.
speaking of which,
Yes.
our mochi's done. Can you believe that? I'll bring it out in the
Wow.
oven.
And these are also the real deal, right? We're not food stylists. Wow, look at that.
Ooh.
Should we taste it?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's get us a little.
Knife.
I'm gonna give you the. Who's gonna go first?
I think our host should go first.
You want to show everyone what it looks like?
Oh, sure.
It's a beauty.
You want to take it out?
Oh, yeah, that one too.
And I know this is gonna taste way better than that donut.
Can you smell that already? Oh my God. Like, if you know it's going to be moist and you know it's going to be good, like, what else? What else do you
What
need?
else do you need in your
What
life,
else?
right?
No, you don't need it. So, it's obviously not perfect, but, you know, in case you want little bites, medium bites, somewhat big, and then large. Whatever your mood is, we'll go for the little one since it's still early in the day, right? We had already let this cool for a minute, you know? So there's a bit of chewiness.
Yeah,
but
I'm
you
going
go.
in?
Mhm,
Okay.
You go for
Why
it.
not?
We can go at the same
I'm gonna
time.
be polite and do this the Montessori way, where I wait for everyone to have a piece,
Oh,
and
that's
then we all
nice.
have it together.
So are you guys an edge girl or like the middle
I like
girl?
the edges. I like the crisp.
Just a little
I like the
crunchy.
edges too. I was a muffin top girl. That
Oh.
sounds really funny, but
Yeah.
I like the top of a muffin.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So now they
okay.
actually sell those.
That's
where
right.
you
I
can
don't
put
want to
them
be a
on-
muffin top girl.
Well, in your 40s.
Well, we all become
Yeah.
one eventually.
Yeah. Thank goodness for high-waisted pants. Is all I'm saying.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh my goodness, this is.
That's good.
Yeah. We'll just pretty much sit around and eat all day.
So you can see there's a bit of moist, you know.
Oh. That's why we're friends too. You guys are exactly the kind of friends I would want to sit next to when it's a group dinner, because I know we're going to eat.
Of
Yeah,
course.
There'll be no substitutions. No, I'm going to eat light tonight. No, we're going in.
No oven explosions. Yep.
Yeah.
I think you could probably add nuts to this, right? If you like nuts.
Ooh, like
That'd
walnuts
be good.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have? Just kind of pull it out
I'm
of your
surprised you
purse.
didn't add nuts to this.
Oh.
Mouthful of nuts. Doesn't matter how, where.
Insert joke in my head here.
Okay. Sometimes I like to elevate my brownies
Mm-hmm.
and add a little bit of powdered sugar on top. And you can just do it really easily. And it just kind of makes it really pretty. And you can even do it for Christmas, for holidays,
When
We
is
were-
the next one?
Mother's Day.
Is that considered a holiday though?
For us, yes,
Yeah, that's right.
no doubt.
Oh,
So there you go.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I know in another piece.
it's very addicting. That's
Yeah.
one thing I would have to say about mochi desserts is that you have one bite, you can't just walk away. Like I have to give it away or I'll eat the whole thing just because it has this texture of chewiness
Yeah.
and just every bite, it just seems perfect.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to stop.
And I like this better than a brownie
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because it looks like a brownie, you almost think it's going to taste like a brownie, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've made other variations of the mochi before.
Yeah,
What other ingredients have you used?
my favorite is the ube mochi.
Yeah, my kids love that when
Love
you
it.
gave me a piece. Yeah.
That's my all-time favorite. That's one mochi that I swear to gosh, if it's just sitting at my kitchen and every time I walk by, I cut a sliver.
Yeah.
I cut a sliver.
You end up walking by more than you're sitting doing work just because.
Yeah, because you're just finding
like,
excuses
Yeah.
to walk by. And the next thing you know, half the damn thing's gone.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the grand finale. Any last words of wisdom, advice?
Stick to the recipe.
Yeah.
When it comes to baking, okay, I don't know what you do with your regular cooking day to day, and if you're confident in that, that's great. But when people complain to me that they are good bakers or they don't know how to bake, I always ask, do you follow the instructions to the T? And 9 out of 10, no.
Yeah.
So if you just follow the instructions and it says, this and that, and sometimes there are certain things that will change the element, even if you follow to the T, like elevation. If you live in a mountain and your cooking changes it, you kind of have to gauge. I always say to watch the timer, and then you'll know, and you just make notes on it, and always make notes because you'll forget, because I always forget, and I bake a lot, but not the same recipe all the time, so and then you're older now, and like your memory's not that great.
Sure. And I think the difference between cooking and baking is, with baking, you don't want to be creative. Just stick to the recipe. For cooking, you have, like you guys mentioned, more wiggle room, more flexibility.
You can get creative on the exterior, the decorating, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sarah, what
But I
about
think baking, if you want to try a new ingredient, I say go for it. So the mochiko flour, some people say my kids aren't going to like it. But you never know. Just try it. And I think a part of it is you expose your kids when they're young, and then they get used to it, right? So you can make it less sweet, try different textures, new recipes. I wouldn't advise like always involving your kids in the baking, especially if it's a new recipe, but just try something new and just keep at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take one cooking class.
Oh yeah, that's fun
That
too.
could be fun, and you will feel this boost of confidence, and you'll feel like you can do anything.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll learn that you really do suck. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe you can delegate tasks in the kitchen to like your child.
And you're like, I tried. I burned the kitchen, so I'm done.
And maybe you don't have to cook again ever.
Totally.
Just
what
like
should be our next recipe to make? So I think we should do the series of videos.
I don't know. I would say if you guys have a specific recipe you've seen us done or other people have done and you want us to try, by all means, comment below.
Yeah.
That's what my son always says. Comment below.
Yeah, that's true. Or just send us a message.
Yeah.
Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, that's right. We have no channel, but you can.
Or follow us on Instagram.
You can subscribe. I feel like we need a stage name now that
You just like us.
Yeah.
Just click the like. Your fingers are already scrolling.
Yeah, don't be shy. We know you're there. Yeah, don't be shy. Okay, well, stay tuned for another recipe we need a stage name, so stay tuned for that as well. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.